What's up, everyone? Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast. We are live from the Xfinity studio here, and we are getting ready for a beautiful day to talk about some baseball. Baseball is officially in swing, and we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're getting this thing underway. Let me figure out what's going on here. We got we're off to a good start. There we go.
There we are. Hello.
A little bit of a slow start. It is a beautiful day to talk about some baseball, and we have some news to share, although it's not nothing huge, nothing monumental, but it does kind of answer some questions. We are about 1 week away officially from the start of opening day. The official opening day, what is it, March 27th? So we're a little more than a week, but it's close, right? We're what is that, next Friday?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Thursday for everyone, next Friday for us.
So we are...
and the Marlins.
We're cooking through the season. We're cooking through spring training. We, of course, have plenty of WBC stuff to talk about. But we got to start by at least acknowledging the fact that the Rockies announced some minor league movement, basically sending guys from the spring training camp to AAA. Adael Amador and Tanner Gordon. Now, the reason that this is important, not just because this is giving us some information on who's going to be available for the regular season, for opening day, that kind of thing, but I think it answers a big question, or at least it thins the herd out a little bit on where that final spot in the pitching rotation is. So as it stands right now, Rockies starting pitching rotation goes Kyle Freeland, who just got announced that he's going to be the opening day starter. We'll talk about that in a second. Michael Lorenzen. Then I'm assuming it's going to go Jose Quintana. Then Sugano is going to be third. And then we're waiting for that fifth spot to finalize. Now, that fifth spot, as of now, it looks like without Gordon in the mix, it's either Chase Dollander, Ryan Feltner, or technically, when it comes to a roster standpoint, Antonio Senzatella. That's not going to happen. So it's between Ryan Feltner and Chase Dollander. This was going to be one of our conversations that we had, Spence, on the show on like who's going to get that last spot. And the conversation can still happen. But now we have a little bit more of a funnel, right? We have less options to choose from. It's between really Chase Dollander and Ryan Feltner. And to be honest, I think we kind of know the answer. It's most likely going to be Chase Dollander. I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, and I'm glad I saw Patrick Saunders' tweet, but I'm also bummed because I was formulating this entire argument and looking up Tanner Gordon's stats this morning, and just from the eye test and how good he was in the major leagues last year. I mean, we've talked about it at length, but he was the best Rockies pitcher, the best pitcher the Rockies had from the starter, from the rotation, from July on. I mean, he was the only guy where you felt confident that the Rockies actually, when they were trying to get to that 43rd win, which they ultimately got to, he's the only guy you're like, we got a shot tonight. Every other guy was like, oh my God, he's going to give up 3, 4, 5, 6 runs, be pulled so early. Tanner Gordon gave them some good quality starts towards the end of the year. And I think what this signals to me a little bit is, which could be good or bad for a lot of the other players on the Rockies roster, is they, I guess, are putting a lot of stock into potential, maybe, rather than performance as of right now. And that could totally change, right? But that, if they're showing us kind of their hand saying, hey, we know what Chase Dollander is, we know the stuff he has, we know he hasn't been great in spring training, but I mean, realistically, not that the other guys are currently better than him, but we know this fifth spot's up for grabs, right? And if Chase Dollander is your fifth starter, you're in a good spot. Now, I'm not saying that Sugano and Lorenzen and Kyle Freeland in his current state, it's like 10, 11-year veteran, and Jose Quintana are light years better than Chase Dollander. You hope that Chase Dollander is the best of all of them in the next 2 to 3 years. Having Chase Dollander as your fifth starter with the stuff he has and the potential he has is an incredible spot to be in. But they're clearly showing us that they're taking that potential and they really believe that they can harness that into being your fifth starter. And then hopefully, you have Gordon, Feltner, guys are going to get hurt. We don't want to talk about it because you don't want to manifest that or put that out into the world, but guys are going to get hurt. Feltner's going to get a shot this year. So is Gordon at some point for whatever reason. But I'm a little surprised by this. And it just shows me now that like, maybe they don't care as much about the spring training of TJ Rumfield and they're just going to give the first base job to Troy Johnston. And maybe they don't care that much about, the performance of Edward Julian, who's been, for lack of a better term, terrible in the WBC, terrible when he got back to spring training, and they're just going to give him the job because he's a veteran. So we're maybe reading too much into the tea leaves there just by optioning one guy to AAA, but it does leave a clear picture for at least that 5th starter. And then Amador, who's had a pretty solid spring training as well, they optioned him to AAA and said, hey, like, whatever you did, not that it wasn't good enough, but it clearly wasn't over the top good enough for them to say, maybe we should keep him on the opening day roster.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that you mentioned that probably is the answer to what we're getting, at least with the Dollander situation. And you mentioned, right, you have Chase Dollander is someone that kind of is worth more to you as an organization. And you can also look at it like they've invested more into him. He's a top draft pick, right? You need Chase Dollander to succeed more than you need Tanner Gordon to succeed. So you're going to give more stock into Chase Dollander, more benefit of the doubt to Chase Dollander than you're going to give naturally to Tanner Gordon. Even if Tanner Gordon technically had a better spring, even if he had a better end of summer last year, you're still going to push that a little bit harder towards Chase Dollander. And I think it's pretty simple. You know, if we had Paul DePodesta or Josh Burns or whoever's making these decisions, that'd probably be what the example that they'd use or the reasoning that they'd use, just because I think it's worth a lot more if Chase Dollander becomes a legitimate starter than it is if Tanner Gordon is what you had last year. Don't get me wrong. Tanner Gordon was fine last year, but he wasn't at the peak of what you think Chase Dollander can be. So what I do think is going to happen, though, is I do think there could be a pretty short leash at the big league level. If Chase Dollander starts out, and again, he's getting to work with a whole new pitching staff, right? 4 different guys at the big league level that he gets to have access to, different types of data and analytics than he had access to before. Like, all of these different things are a factor that he wouldn't be getting in AAA that he's going to get in the major leagues. If he struggles in the big leagues for a couple weeks to a month, his first 3 or 4 starts just aren't good, then I think he gets sent back down and we see Tanner Gordon or Ryan Feltner getting called up. But I think you just have more stock in Chase Dollander as of now because of what you need. I think a lot of this year, actually, as a whole, is the Rockies like almost trying to manifest some of these players to be good, right? Like you have to give the opportunity to the guys that you need to step up, that you need to be good, right? You need to see Brenton Doyle, and obviously he was going to be starting no matter what, but you need to see Jordan Beck. Let's just say Jordan Beck needs to have a consistent season this year. Otherwise, we're going to start having some serious doubts about if he can be a true big leaguer. And so they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt to get that playing time above Zach Veen, you know? So I think we're going to see that probably a lot as this year goes on.
Yeah. And that's a good point to think about too, because even though some of these guys may not be ready or they may be outperformed by some of the other veterans or guys that I'd like to say Bud Black would start last year. Like, it'd be kind of a fun exercise to go through once we see the opening day roster and the starting 9, if you will, for opening day, and go through and say, okay, this is what Warren Schaefer did, and this is what Bud Black would have done with this roster. Because I guarantee you, we'd see Johnston, we'd see Julian, we'd see Moniak. And not saying these guys aren't good players. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but that brings up a really good point of like, you have some pieces that are a chance of being a part of your core that's hopefully going to win in a couple of years. So let's let them get as many at-bats as they can and actually find out whether or not they are a part of your core going into 27 and who knows what that season in 28 and 29 when you hopefully expect to compete.
Yeah, 100%. Also, the interesting thing to think about here is Kyle Freeland's getting the start on opening day, right? So I kind of did the math. If Kyle Freeland's getting the start on the official opening day in Miami, that means we'll be getting a Michael Lorenzen start, theoretically, on home opening day for the Rockies. So Michael Lorenzen will be starting against the Phillies if everything stays in line. Again, Lorenzen being the number 2 starter, he would be getting the start for the home opener, which I'm actually okay with. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love watching Kyle Freeland pitch sometimes, but I am excited to watch Michael Lorenzen pitch. And I know he was the guy who gave up the runs to Team Venezuela last night. I get it. It's a crazy lineup that the Venezuelan team has. There were 2 outs. He had been literally locked down for, 7 or 8 innings combined, before that last inning. So it was a bummer that Lorenzen gave up those last couple runs. But by all means, I don't know if you were watching like in depth. I know you have an infant and a toddler at home, Spencer, but could you hear the broadcasters when you were watching the Italy-Venezuela game last night?
I only actually watched the first like 4 innings. I went to the Avs game.
Oh, you were at the
night.
Avs game.
So
Yeah,
I was watching on my phone, but it was pretty loud in there and holding my son. It was kind of a mess. But no, I did not hear. Basically, I watched through, I think, the top of 4 or top of 5.
Yeah.
And then I had to dip out.
Well, spoiler for those of you who didn't watch it, it was Joe Davis and I think John Schmaltz is his partner. They were heaping praise on Michael Lorenzen. I mean, they were, every pitch he was throwing, they were like, oh my God, like look at the pitch mixes that he has, like all the different stuff. John Schmaltz was like talking about how many different pitches he was using, and he was dialed in. Like Lorenzen looked really, really good. And again, it just came down to those 2 outs and getting a play at shortstop that probably could have gotten you out of the inning if your shortstop, I don't remember who Team Italy's shortstop is, if he had gone to second, would have been close. It's a tough play. It's not like Team Venezuela was absolutely smacking the baseball either against Lorenzen. It was just some timely hits with 2 outs that just kind of ate away at that last little inning of Lorenzen. So overall, I feel really good about Michael Lorenzen. I know our boy Hank was nervous about Lorenzen going into this year, and I think I can say from my perspective, and maybe I'll get your take on this, as the number 2 starter for the Rockies this year, I feel very good with him in that rotation.
Yeah, he's basically been the best pitcher in this month of March, essentially. Like you're looking at all of the Rockies starters in spring training and then some of the starts in the WBC, the WBC has been very encouraging for the Rockies pitching staff. Spring training has been the opposite of that.
Yeah, Jose Quintana comes home and just falls apart.
Yeah, Quintana for Colombia, you're like, oh, he's cooking too. And then he gets back and starts in the Cactus League and gets blown up. You're like, oh my God. Can we, doing the stock up, stock down every single day for spring training that I've done, I don't know. I have to work hard to find a non-pitcher to first stock down. And not that I don't want to pile on these guys and I don't want to stop, some people have gotten into me about, oh, this guy just had one bad day. That's the point of this.
It's overreaction.
Yeah, it's an overreaction to one game in spring training that doesn't matter. But I've struggled every single day because there's a pitcher that, if you go, I believe it was ironically Tanner Gordon the other day went 4 innings. He gave up a home run in the second. And you're like, oh, is that not a great start? But then he goes 4 innings, only gives up that 1 run. You're like, okay, that was good. We can take that. That's a stock up in a pitching sense. But then there's one reliever, and I try to do stock up, stock down with the guys that actually matter. Like I'm not gonna, if Vimo Machine goes 0 for 3, I'm not gonna give him a stock down. Like he's or if he goes 4
Dude's
for 4.
Dude's gonna be in AAA in 3 days, and you're just shitting on him out there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I try to make them matter and make them guys that are gonna be on the actual roster and mean something to the Rockies big club this year. But yeah, pitching is every day. There's somebody just going 1 inning and giving up. I mean, they've given up. Feels like home run after home run. Yeah. I know the ball probably flies down there at Salt River Fields, and it's Arizona.
And they're working
hot.
on things, and we get it. Yeah, spring training is not indicative to the regular season. I'll say it over and over because I'm also saying it to myself. You just don't get too hung up on what's happening in spring training, for better or for worse, right? I think there's a lot of guys that are probably balling out in spring training that the regular season's going to happen and it's going to level itself out. Even if they start hot. Do you remember last year, the Rockies starting pitchers were like the best combined starting rotation in baseball for like the first 2 weeks? They had like a 1.5 ERA as a team.
Yeah, they were cooking, and the freaking offense wasn't hitting. And we're like, what is this Rockies team? And then everything went bad towards the middle of the month and the rest of the season.
Yeah, everything will balance out.
It will. And I will say, though, as much as you can tell me that, and I hear that, I don't know. Lorenzen will probably get a start, right? Before, because we still got 10 days. So Lorenzen will get, if Lorenzen comes into the Cactus League and gives up like 6 runs, I'm going to crash out 100%.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's a spring training start.
Yeah. So Lorenzen, obviously, now that Italy's out, he's going to come back, be with the Rockies for the rest of spring. If he starts a game and just is trash, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might panic.
Fine. I might panic. I'm telling you, it's going to be okay. We can handle it. We'll be fine. We got some WBC stuff to talk about. We're also going to be updating our lineup predictions because, again, it's funneling, thinner and thinner to a point where we're going to have some big decisions coming up here soon. So we'll give some updates to that. But we got to talk WBC because the WBC has been electric. Must-watch baseball, and we got championship coming up tonight. So let's talk about that coming up after this quick break. Well, I want to give a huge shout out right now to our friends over at Bet365. This is the best place to go and the best time of year for sports betting because you've got March Madness, you've got NBA playoffs coming up here soon, Stanley Cup playoffs right around the corner. And right now, Bet365 is doing one of their most exciting promotions to date. For new customers, you can bet $10, get $365 back in bonus bets. That's better than their $150 back in bonus bets, even their $200 back in bonus bets. Again, bet $10, you can get $365 back in bonus bets. It's really as simple as it sounds. And with March Madness around the corner, it's the best sporting event of the year, I think, in my opinion, to bet on sports. You got to use that. Take advantage of that deal right now. There's never been a better time to prep for the playoffs, to prep for March Madness than with Bet365. Winning is everything. Download the app today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be present in Colorado. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wagers excluded from returns. New customers only, 21 and older. Time limits, minimum odds, and TNC apply. In-app only. Void where prohibited. Well, I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. And with summer right around the corner, it's supposed to be like 90 degrees this week. I know I'm going to be getting up into the mountains, and I rely on my Toyota to get me everywhere I need to go. And that's because I have been a Toyota customer my entire life. Basically, the entire time that I've been able to drive, my family's driven Toyotas. I have my 2024 RAV4 Adventure Series that can get me way up into the middle of nowhere in the mountains, whether it's off-roading, driving on dirt roads, or maybe it's in the snow. It is the perfect vehicle. But you can also check out their other options too, like Tundras, their trucks, Tacomas. Maybe you want to go the SUV route, but you don't want to get the RAV4. Maybe you want to go with their 4Runner. They have just so many different choices. They have hybrid options as well if you're more into the eco-friendly choices. So check them out. If you're in the market to get yourself a new Toyota, visit your Farmers Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota East in Aurora, and Mountain States Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR and of the Colorado Rockies. Let's go places. All right, back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, we got to talk WBC because it's been absolutely electric, and I wanted to intro in our WBC by doing our new segment, the Xfinity X Factor. This is the X Factor presented by Xfinity. Imagine that, where we choose a player who has been truly an X Factor in their regards, and I think you probably can't go much further talking about who's been the X Factor of the WBC. And we're going to obviously keep it in Rockies world without mentioning Ezequiel Tovar. Is there a better player in the WBC besides Ezequiel Tovar, like throughout this entire tournament? You could probably make the argument a couple guys have been better, but my God, Tovar's got to be in the top 5.
Well, if you don't get a, for lack of a better term, hard on for home runs, which has been a lot of, lot of, I think what was one of the game the other day was the USA game was 2-1 and it was 3 solo shots. Like that's all it was.
Yeah.
Tovar's playing baseball. Tovar's hitting doubles. He's obviously playing a great shortstop. He's stealing bases. He had that Japanese pitcher in a blender running around the bases and basically manufactured his own run that day. So, yeah, Tovar is playing some great baseball, and it's been awesome to see just following some of the national pundits, media, Barstool guys, whatever, that pay attention to baseball. I saw a tweet the other day that was like, is Ezequiel Tovar the best player in baseball?
Yeah, I think it was Hubs.
He's getting so much national love, and he deserves it, man. And he's one of the guys where last year was a lost season for pretty much every single Rocky other than Hunter Goodman. And Tovar's, you can attribute that a little bit to his injuries and the fact that he was out. But even when he was in, he wasn't quite the guy that you expect. And so now I'm getting the hope that the Tovar that we've seen in the past, and it's crazy, the dude's only 24 years old. Feels like
he's a child.
After we lost Ryan McMahon and he was traded away, it felt like Tovar was the guy left. Like Tovar's the guy that if you've been paying attention to the Rockies for multiple years and you hear about a guy winning a Gold Glove or being one of the better players on the Rockies, it's Ezequiel Tovar. And the fact that he's been around for what feels like so long and is still 24 years old and now is having this coming out party worldwide for the WBC, Xfinity X Factor all day, baby.
Yeah, Xfinity X Factor, the X Factor presented by Xfinity. Imagine that. I put out a tweet the other day that went kind of viral. It had a couple thousand likes, but it was mentioning the fact that Tovar has spent roughly 3.5 seasons, maybe 3.25. What he came up in September of 2023, so 3.25 seasons of big league ball, and he's had over 300, and I think it's 340 losses in those 3 years that he's been a Colorado Rocky. Like, the dude has seen some of the worst baseball you can imagine a big leaguer has seen. And so for him to get to be a part of these moments, to see him reacting with like the energy that we've been seeing him react. Because also, Spence, I know you haven't spent as much time in the clubhouse, but you and I both have been around Tovey in the clubhouse a little bit and in the dugout and stuff. He's like super quiet, very introverted, doesn't really talk to the media, not in like a, he doesn't like talking to us type of thing, but just in the sense that he's just a quiet guy. He doesn't really talk a lot to his teammates, outside of just kind of basic conversation. And again, that's just what we see, but we get kind of a little bit of a peek behind the curtain sometimes when we see him in the clubhouse and in the lockers and in the dugout and stuff like that. And he's just a pretty serious guy. And then you see him on Team Venezuela. And again, he's still pretty serious. He's not Junior Caminero for the Dominican Republic, but he's got so much more energy. And it makes my heart as a baseball fan happy, because I know the Rockies can't ever provide that like to him right now. At least yet.
Haven't yet. Cannot ever is not the term we want to use. Haven't yet is the term we want to use for this.
It might take a while, but he's getting to have, he gets to be in a championship experience where there's going to be 40,000 people at Miami Stadium. I don't even know what it's called. Marlins Stadium, which never gets that many people.
Oh, yeah, what is it called? They will have more people for this WBC than they'll have the rest of the season.
Dude, if the Marlins made it to the World Series, they probably wouldn't have as many people going to the game as they're going to have tonight with Venezuela versus the U.S. And I was really hoping for a Dominican Republic versus Venezuela. That was what I was in Miami.
The excitement for that would have, like, the crowd would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, again, I went to that WBC Championship in 2017 where it was U.S. versus Puerto Rico in L.A., and there were more Puerto Rican fans, again, in LA, more Puerto Rican fans than U.S. fans. I can't imagine what it would have been, Venezuela versus Lone Depot Park. Thank you, Scott. I get you, Lone Depot Park. I can't imagine what that would have been like, but whatever. And I'm not even like anti-U.S. I think the U.S. team's been a hard team to root for this year, if I'm being honest. The vibes have just been a little like weird. You got players saying things
manufactured.
Yeah. Like you've got players like, Bryce Harper saying, and I get it, maybe we're taking it out of context, but saying like, he'd rather be in the Olympics. You got Ernie Clement saying he'd rather be in spring training. You got Cal Raleigh doing the handshake thing, whatever. I'm not here to shit on, the US completely. It just doesn't feel like the same vibes as what we've had in the past. I look back on like the Team USA that won the championship, and you got like Andrew Jones and Nolan Arenado, and like just the vibes felt so much different. So I'm not a huge Team USA fan right now, and plus, if you know me anyways, I was rooting for Team Puerto Rico because my family's from Puerto Rico. Skubal, exactly, not pitching, or choosing to just pitch one game. Also weird that he was there but not pitching, right? Like he was in the dugout, but he wasn't pitching. Like I feel like if you're gonna leave the team, then leave the team,
Well, is it based on, is it his agent? Is that what the deal is?
It probably is.
What I heard is that he's not allowed to pitch more than one game or whatever due to his, like, some outside circumstances that he can't really control. And so that's why he's still there hanging around, being part of the team, if you will, but not able to actually pitch. Because, Team USA still very well might win this tournament.
Sure.
But who's starting for Team USA tonight?
Nolan McLean, the guy who got unloaded against the other day.
Right. Like if you had Skubal going tonight, it's a lot more in your favor for Team USA than it will 100%. Be with McLean. So, it's not like he's the backup catcher and he's like, I can't play. Like that's a big deal that he's like not able to play or not playing, whatever the rules are, whatever he's going through. But then he wants to be a part of it. It's kind of...
Well, and he went home to spring training and threw 65 plus pitches. So I'm like, why are you doing... I don't know. His agent, I think, is Scott Boras. And you have to keep in mind, Tariq Skubal, if he stays healthy, is going to make more money than any pitcher in the history of baseball has ever made. He's probably going to get a $500 million plus contract if he stays healthy. So I understand from a contractual standpoint, you got to keep him healthy. But then why go... I don't know. Just doesn't make sense to me.
Interesting question there, yeah, from the E-line. He also had a question about Tovar getting traded. I don't think they trade Tovar at any point.
No.
I think Tovar's part of his. This just gives the Rockies national spotlight for a good player, which is nice, and we're gonna, I think, keep that around. What are your thoughts on this? I have a fairly strong opinion. I don't know how it would work out, but I have a time that I'd like to see the WBC get played.
We might be in the same boat here. Real quick though, before on the Tovar thing. I had said this earlier. Tovar is good enough and young enough that you want to keep him on the Rockies for a long time, but he's not so good that you have to trade him in this rebuild, right? Like he would get a good package if you did trade him, but he's not so good where you're like, hey, we have to trade him so we can get all of these players back and you can restart it's like a jump start of the team. I think he's in that middle where he's young and good enough that you keep him. You don't worry. He's one of my untouchables. So that answers that first part. Would you rather see the WBC held after the World Series? I think I would rather have them play in the middle of the year. And that's why I think you and I are on the same boat.
Yeah, I think the WBC...
Play during the All-Star break.
Exactly. The WBC would be electric if it was a fairly condensed... This has been about 2 weeks. Maybe condense it down a little bit more to like a 10-day, 7 to 10-day thing, but maybe during the All-Star break, right after the All-Star game's over, then everybody flies and does their WBC stuff. Now, it may not be as helpful if you have to fly, like Shohei has to fly to Japan. You'd have to kind of reorganize where it's at, make it in America and make all the games in America. I think you could get people on board with that. Do you think... do you think the quality of baseball would be a lot better? I mean, it's been so good, but you just wonder if guys were in the middle of their season. It could be worse. I mean, some guys could be worse, right? They could be slumping and just not in a good spot, or they could be injured. But I think the quality of baseball might be a little bit better, and I think the excitement around it would be a little bit higher when baseball, like tonight, I mean, granted, it's just the first four, but you got the championship and you have March Madness starting tonight.
Yeah.
So it's they're losing a little bit of eyeballs, I think. During the All-Star break during the season is truly the most 2 dead days of sports in the entire year, every single year. And so that could be propped up by something like the WBC.
Here's the issue, beyond what you just said with the travel, which I actually think you could work around. The Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game is arguably the best All-Star format in all of sports. You don't want to get rid of the Home Run Derby because it's great. And it'd be once every 4 years. So, you wouldn't be doing it every year. I'm a fan, though, of them actually taking 2 weeks off in the baseball season, saying, okay, this is the once every 4 years. Here's the 4th year. It's WBC year. We're going to have a extended All-Star break. It is going to be 2 weeks, and the travel is going to be insane. You're going to go to Japan. You're going to go to Puerto Rico. You're going to go do all of these things, just like you did now. It's going to be two weeks, and maybe they have to condense it a little bit to get it officially into 2 weeks. But you make it happen. And like you said, you have peak baseball in the middle. You cancel the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game for that period. I'm a fan of them putting a pause on baseball for 2 weeks in general, just because I think baseball is such a long season. So if you have a good reason to actually extend that 2-day All-Star break or whatever it is, I think it's a week. I'm okay with that because I think it gives players some breaks. I think I think it's fine to have it be that way. So I would enjoy that. I think that'd be good. I think that'd be a fun way to do it, but I don't think they ever will. I think it's just set up the way it is. I'm sure there's other reasons too, but
yeah, you could start the season a little earlier too if you wanted to. Maybe start spring training, get everybody there in middle of February, early to mid February, like when pitchers and catchers report, and then start the season like now. Mid-March, and then you still get the 162 games in, but I can't imagine how many, like the guys that make the World Series, they got to be running on fumes at that point.
Oh, I'm sure. I have a question for you, though, before we hit our next break. We've had a couple players for other teams saying that they would rather win a WBC championship than the World Series, or basically saying the World Baseball Classic Championship means more to them than a World Series. And we see the tournament energy. I mean, this has been an insane tournament. Like, you tell that these games mean a lot, especially for the international players. Do you have a problem with that? If Tovar, let's say, went out and did a post-game interview and said, I wanted to win this more than I've ever wanted to win a World Series, would you as a fan have a problem with that?
No, I wouldn't, because to me, like we look at it with a lens. I look at it personally with a lens. I grew up a diehard Rockies fan, right? I will be the rest of my life. These kids grew up, like Tovar, for instance, being a diehard fan of his Venezuelan, the players that came before him in Venezuela. He didn't love the Rockies until he got drafted there. Like all of these guys that are from international countries and playing in the WBC, their first love was that WBC team or that Olympic, whatever it ends up being, however they got into baseball and whoever they watched. And even if they watched the MLB, I'm sure the Dominican guys, they're all like fans of Big Papi, which maybe made them Red Sox fans, but they were first there because of Big Papi or because of their Dominican roots and the players that came out of there. So I don't have a problem with it from any of the...
Like a human standpoint.
Yeah, standpoint and the international players. Now, if there's some guys that grew up like in America and the WBC, obviously, it's, I don't know, maybe
it's different international.
To say?
No, I get what you're saying. It's different international because I was telling my wife, Marissa, who's not, a huge baseball fan, although she's loved the WBC. But I was telling her, like for these international players, especially the international players that didn't come from more of the like affluent areas, the more wealthy areas of those countries, a lot of times like that was your way out of poverty, or that was your way to make it big. And so you hear these stories from like these guys who grew up in like fishing villages in Venezuela, and they were taken from when they were like 6 years old, and they went to not school, they went to baseball school, right? Where you weren't really going to school. You just played baseball all day. That was your schooling. And I, when I played baseball all the way through high school club ball, we'd played with players who played from different countries and had came over to the US and, basically playing to get drafted. And, the stories that they would tell where they were like, that was your education, like you didn't go to school. You weren't going to college. Like you grew up playing baseball all day, every day, and your hopes to make a living for yourself was to get drafted. So yeah, it means a lot more, I think, to the international players than the U.S. players, where the U.S. there's just different variables involved in a lot of that. So yeah, fascinating stuff. I wouldn't be upset about it either, even if Tovey said it, or I don't know. Hell, even if Lorenzen said it, like I wouldn't be upset about it. Like absolutely, man. I think this is a super fun thing, and I'll be super stoked if Tovey can win the WBC Championship tonight. So yeah, it's all good stuff. Let's give our predictions when we come back. We got to hit this next ad break. After the break, what are our WBC Championship predictions? And then we continue with our Rockies coverage coming up. Well, I want to give a huge shout out right now to our friends over at Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is the best place to go for lunch or dinner, maybe breakfast, whatever time of day it is. You can stop by your local Raising Cane's. They've got craveable chicken fingers that are to die for. My absolute favorite place. And I know there are a lot of other places selling, chicken tenders, chicken wings, chicken anything. But Raising Cane's is truly the best. And I'm not even just saying that because they're a partner of this show. I've loved Raising Cane's for as long as I can remember. And it goes beyond just their chicken, too. They've got dark fries, and everything is so fresh. Nowadays, everything tastes like fast food. No, with Raising Cane's, but then it reorganizes like my entire cane sauce. I don't know why it does made that. Daily in-house. And I don't even do anything. It's like it glitches out. Sweet tea, their fresh squeezed lemonade. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's not just fast food. It is truly enjoyable restaurant-style chicken fingers, and you can stop there whether it's day or evening. I'm going to be probably stopping there on my way home for lunch. So whether it's a lunchtime thing, whether it's a dinner thing, maybe you want something to enjoy with the wife and kids, stop by Raising Cane's to enjoy that tonight. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. Well, I also want to take this time to put on my nice, good old Shady Rays and give a shout out to our friends at Shady Rays, because right now Shady Rays is having an incredible deal. They are having a 40% off 2 pairs of sunglasses deal right now over at Shady Rays using that code DNVRSR. Shady Rays is awesome because not only are they good looking sunglasses, which you could see, they look great, but they have this cool thing where if you lose or damage a pair of sunglasses, they'll send you a new pair for free. And I know from experience, sunglasses, yeah, they're pretty tough sometimes, right? I forget them at places. They fall out of my pocket when I'm getting out of my car. It's just they're easy to damage. They're easy to lose. So with Shady Rays, they can kind of take the stress from those kind of things because you get one pair of Shady Rays and it feels like they can last you a lifetime. Even if you lose them, even if you damage them, they have you covered. And, maybe you want to just kind of bulk up a little bit. You want to get some sunglasses for the summer. Like I said, right now, 40% off of 2+ pairs of sunglasses at Shady Rays using that code DNVRSR. So head to shadyrays.com, use code DNVRSR for 40% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses right now at Shady Rays. Welcome back. We're still trying to figure out this whole self-production thing. Thank you, Scott. Yes, we're getting
Thanks
there.
for the mute call.
Thanks for the mute call. Could have been much worse. Worse. Little hot mic situation.
Glad this wasn't the last DNVR Rocky show we will ever do.
Yeah, right. Oh, I love it. All right, WBC predictions. Championship tonight. Team USA, the slightly unlikable Team USA versus the very likable Team Venezuela. Before we get into that, though, what was the bigger upset? Team Japan getting eliminated or the Dominican Republic?
I think Team Japan because of who it was. Now, obviously, Venezuela's made it to the final and might win the final. But I think at the time, you just looked at the Japanese team and you're like, how does anybody beat these guys?
Yeah.
And Venezuela just found a way to, rattle their pitching. Tovar was a huge part of that. And I think Dominican Republic, obviously, while very good, when you have to face the best pitcher in the world in Paul Skeens, that's a tough job for any team, for any roster. I mean, if Team USA faced Paul Skeens, granted, Team USA got 2 home runs, 2 solo shots, and that was all they needed. But Paul Skeens is just that good. And I think they talked about, I was listening to the postgame show, and which is great, by the way, between David Ortiz Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, and they were saying, what makes a good pitcher or a great pitcher, or maybe one of the best of all time, by the time he's all said and done with Paul Skeens, is he didn't have his best stuff and he just battled. Just found a way to, and it's funny, they kept saying he was getting his defense involved. Like, I don't think intentionally he was getting his defense involved.
Those are great hitters.
But he wasn't striking out a ton of guys. I know that because I had a massive parlay lose because Paul Skeens did not get 6 strikeouts. So shout out to him for that. But it's just like when you have a guy that's that good and he is just rolling like he is right now, it's pretty unbeatable. And so Dominican, while their lineup was just disgusting, also their pitching their bullpen's nasty, but their starters are not, I can only attribute it to the major leagues because we watch so much Major League Baseball. So it's kind of hard to say, you've got, I believe there was a guy that came into the game last night or 2 nights ago, and he's like a AA pitcher, single A, AA pitcher. And those guys can have success. Baseball is one of those things where you could throw a college pitcher out there and he could shut out an insane roster for one day. Like it's just these are single elimination games. So it is, the talent level can change a little bit, but the Dominican pitching wasn't as great as I thought it would be.
Wait a minute. Is Herman on Team Venezuela? I didn't know this. If it is, I didn't know. I actually don't know who's going for the Venezuelan team tonight. That's news to me, Scott. Because I'll be honest, I haven't paid a ton of attention to Team Venezuela except for these last few games. But also, I don't know if you saw that after the Venezuelan team beat Team Japan, the Japanese coach resigned. He stepped down.
Yeah, he's like, this. I'm done with this.
Yeah, talk about the level of expectations. Hey, you don't make it to the championship, you're done. You're done. So
I don't see
Senza's on
Senza,
there.
Yeah.
Is that who you meant?
Are we gonna get a Senza appearance?
Dude, Senza's home run against Tatis, or the Tatis home run against Senza. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Also, shout out to Julio Rodriguez for robbing that home run against Aaron Judge.
So nasty. That was so
and bailing our boy Juan Mejia out. I was all hyped. I'm like, all right, Juan Mejia is getting through this U.S. lineup, and then Aaron Judge just hits one to the moon, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. The Dominican Republic team was great. That was a lot of fun to watch. I was really hoping it was going to be DR versus Venezuela. But all right, predictions. Who is going to be walking away with the WBC Championship trophy? Is it the Venezuelan team, the hot hitting team, the Rockies, so to speak? Yes, Scott says it was Senzatella. we better not see a Saez and Tell. I almost feel kind of bad that like I posted a graphic on Twitter yesterday about how, congrats to Tovar for making it to the WBC Championship, and someone just commented, and Senza too. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Senza's there. We wish him nothing but the best, but we'll see if we see him tonight. I'm gonna go for my prediction. Depends on who's pitching for Team Venezuela. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go with my gut. I think Team Venezuela's got it. They've been making upsets this entire tournament. They beat the big bad Japanese team that was expected to win the whole thing. Beat Shohei Ohtani. I think Team Venezuela's got what it takes to do it. I think Tovar has a good game. I think this will be a Team Venezuela. I think it's gonna be close though. It's gonna be. I think this championship tonight is gonna be better in the terms of it's probably not going to be as much of a pitcher's duel. It's probably going to be more offensive heavy than we've seen the last two semifinal games.
Yeah, I'm going to go just to be opposite of you and not be best buddies all the time. I'm going to go with Team USA.
Fair.
Just because I don't trust Eduardo Rodriguez, who's starting for Team Venezuela.
Okay.
He is a good pitcher. He's a Diamondback, so I don't love him all that much. But he's a guy that could, if shit starts going south, I mean, it could be Witt homer, Judge homer, Schwarber homer. Like the ball could be flying out of there. So I think I'm excited to watch this game because not that the USA 2-1 win wasn't exciting, but I think we're in line for USA 8, Venezuela 6, something like that.
I like that.
I like a high scoring game tonight, which will be a little bit more fun to watch because although baseball and these intense winner take all games are so much fun, it does get a little boring when the guys are just mowing other guys rosters down or lineups down, and you're like, well, there's going to have to be some massive momentum shift versus I think there was a Taiwan-Japan game, whatever. There was a game where there was like lead off or home run in the third inning to take the lead. And then the bottom of the third inning, there was another home run to take the lead. Like that is a lot more fun to watch, and especially in a final winner take all game, that'll be the most fun tonight. Just homer after homer. Back and forth game, and then coming down to the bullpens of Venezuela, which hopefully does include Saez and Tell. And I also found out, looking through the roster of Venezuela, Anthony Molina, remember that name?
Yeah.
No longer a Rocky as of this, this spring training. He's on the Braves now, but he's also on Team Venezuela.
He was the guy. I'm thinking of the right guy, right? He's the pitcher, Anthony Molina. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
He had 3 innings for the Rockies in 2025. He had a crisp 12 ERA.
Was he the one who gave up those 3 back-to-back home runs against the Dodgers or something like that, and then came in later and like struck out the side?
You might be correct on that.
I'm thinking of the same guy.
Yep.
Maybe someone else, but yeah, I know. It's gonna be a good game. It's funny because like pitchers duels, kind of what we've been seeing for the last few games. And when you're watching baseball with someone who's not a huge baseball fan, again, my wife, she loves sports. She played college basketball, so she's a huge sports fan, but she's not a huge baseball fan. Pitchers duels are like hard to sell because you're like, nothing's really happening. Like we as baseball fans know how impressive it is to see what the pitchers are doing and all that kind of stuff. But then she's sitting there like, come on, give me some action. So hopefully tonight we'll get a little more action. Yes, Perk, we did give Lorenzen his dues at the beginning of this show. He was cooking. Like I said, I don't blame him for the loss. I know technically he's going to get credited with the loss, but he had thrown like, what was his final stat line? Like 7 innings in the WBC with up until that last 2 outs, had no runs given up.
Yeah, he gave up 2 earned runs at the end of that, and that was it.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good. I'm actually surprised, Elon. I haven't checked the odds, but I did not realize the U.S. had 70% victory odds. That seems heavy. Seems pretty heavy. But
I saw that comment from Eli. We took their leader. We took their oil. We're going to take the WBC title. There was a funny tweet that was circulating that was like, all right, let's up the stakes on this thing here. If Venezuela wins, we give them whatever back. And if USA wins, we get to take all their oil or something. Just like
it becomes completely political.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
like everything in this world.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should keep it a little.
Let me look at the Bet365 app and see where the odds are for this game.
Well, while you're looking for that, let's pause for our last break. We'll hit our last break. We do have Rocky stuff to talk about. I want to wrap up our predictions. Given what we know now with the roster. who's going to be the first baseman? Who's going to be second baseman, third baseman, shortstop? Tovar, shortstop. But what's going to be the outlook of this season? We'll talk about that coming up here after this quick break. All right. Want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to some upcoming events. We've talked about our suite takeover. That's going to be coming up later in the season. Head to the DNVR.com/events to get your information for that. We're going to be hanging out in a suite watching the Braves in May. So check that out. But are we good to start promoting this, Spencer? Our opening day stuff, home opener stuff?
Yes, we will definitely have the event at, oh man, I forgot the place already.
Ice House or?
No, it's across the street from the Ice House. Opening day, where we did it last year. If you guys were there last year, we'll have the event up on the DNVR.com/events. But the hope is, the home opening day. Opening day, we're going to be at the bar watching the game. So come to DNVR. If you're in Denver, come to the DNVR bar to watch the game. But home opening day, we will be down in Lodo, right by the stadium. I don't know why I can't think of the name. I think it's the Larimer Beer Hall.
Some garden
or something.
It was literally where we were last year. It'll be on the website at the DNVR.com/events, but it's going to be a good time. We're going to be doing our live pregame show there. So we'll be on site doing a pregame show. We're going to be hanging out with you guys, fans, drinking beer, talking baseball, and then just getting ready to go straight across the street to go watch the Rockies and Michael Lorenzen go absolutely shove against his former team, the Philadelphia Phillies. So it's going to be a good time.
Opening day is one of my favorite days of the year. And please, I don't care if we get snow for a week after that straight. Just, can we have one nice opening day?
75.
With how it's been, and we got like 80-degree weather all this week, I'm just praying that by the time April 3rd rolls around, we have at least a 45, 50-degree day with some sun, for God's sakes.
I know.
I don't want to bring 4 jackets again.
I know. That was miserable. It really put a damper on the whole season. It kind of went... It kind of started low.
Foreshadowing.
It wasn't great. All right, back to Rockies talk. We've been talking a lot about the WBC because it's been great. We'll talk about it again on Thursday. Scott, set your calendar, set your alarm for Thursday. I know it's a new schedule, Thursday at noon, but we've got some Rockies stuff to talk about. Rockies already made the decision to send down Amour this morning. So he's no longer in the running for that second base slot. And I think that probably is the bigger spot in the infield that's still up for grabs. First base, if I'm being honest, I think is probably going to go to TJ Rumfield. I know Troy Johnston's in that mix. I know technically Julian's in that mix. I just think TJ Rumfield's done enough in spring training to get the nod, especially over Charlie Condon. If you haven't already, go check out, I think the Denver Post did an article, and Kevin Henry, our good friend from the Denver Gazette, did an article about why Charlie Condon was most likely not going to be starting in the big leagues. There's good reasons for that. We agree with everything they say. So it's probably going to be TJ Rumfield at first base. Second base, though, still up in the air. I think it's going to be Castro, personally, but Tyler Freeman's in that mix. Technically, Edward Julian, right? He could play second base.
Yeah, was second base for Team Canada, but I don't think he's got a hit since like last season.
Yeah, it feels like it. So where do you think they go? If it's me, I'm going Willie Castro if I'm putting the lineup together today.
Yeah, I think they're going Willie Castro at second base. Kyle Karros will get the opening day start at third. Of course, shortstop will be Tovar. Left field, you're going to go Beck, Doyle, McCarthy to right field, or maybe McCarthy in left field, Beck in right field. I think that might be, I mean, it's semantics, but maybe a little bit of a change up, like getting Jordan Beck used to playing a little more right field where he's played a lot of spring training. I think those guys are all in the lineup. And then I think depending upon how the first week goes and if it's a lefty starter for, like, if it's Ranger Suarez, for God's sakes, I went back to home opening day. Opening day. I think Mickey Moniak will probably be the DH, and they'll start there. Tyler Freeman is a good enough hitter to be a DH, but just the lack of power makes that fit not correct. And would you be surprised if we saw a trade, Rockies trade, late in spring training?
Yes.
I am not that I've heard anything, but there's something inside me that says they're going to look at all of the guys that they have on this collective roster as they're cutting it down and almost do what they did last year with Tyler Freeman and Nolan Jones and say, hey, we can get rid of a guy like Tyler Freeman again and feel comfortable with Ryan Ritter backing him up, playing a bunch of different positions. You've already got kind of a log jam in the outfield. You've got Castro, you've got Julian, you've got Johnston, got a lot of guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one of those guys is traded. And I think why we're a little bit tepid on TJ Rumfield starting at first base is because he never has in the major leagues. But if he would have played for any other team other than the New York Yankees and been in their farm system the last 3 or 4 years, he'd have a couple of years of major league time already. And we'd feel like, all right, he's the Edward Julian or whatever, the veteran that's been in the MLB. Like he has shown us that he's a good enough player to play in the MLB from spring training. That doesn't mean everything. But I think TJ Rumfield getting a start at first base signals that they know he's ready and they want, instead of a patchwork first base, and in other words, a guy like a Julian or like a Johnston that's not necessarily an everyday first baseman, they want to put him out there. They give Rumfield the start. He's been good enough with the bat in spring training to earn that as well. So I feel comfortable saying TJ Rumfield's your starting opening day first baseman.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you think they do with Ryan Ritter? Because Ryan Ritter, I know Luke in the chat, big fan of Ryan Ritter. He's had a good spring. He was decent last year, not good enough to, I think, be a consistent starting big league player, but good enough to be a bench player. Do you think they give him a bench slot here, or do you think he starts the season in AAA?
No, I think Ryan Ritter's a perfect bench player for this team. Okay. I think he's that, because they've recently added, and this may be a couple years now, but they've recently added a 26 spot to the roster, right? It used to be a 25-man roster, now it's 26. I think that's Ryan Ritter. I think he's number 26.
Well, here's something I learned yesterday on the broadcast. If the Rockies designate Michael Lorenzen as a two-way player because he can hit, they technically open up another pitching slot in their in their pitching rotation. So they could come in with 6 starting pitchers if they designate him as a two-way player. I learned that from John Schmaltz, who was talking about it. So I don't know if they're doing that. I haven't heard that, and I would love to be in spring training and ask Warren Schaefer that. I might actually text one of our sources and see if they have any information on that. But if the Rockies end up doing that, then that might solve the problem of the whole Tanner Gordon or not Tanner Gordon, but Ryan Feltner situation. You might have Chase Dolander and Ryan Feltner both getting called up. So I don't know, something to keep in mind. Again, not positionally, but I just thought of that when it came into my mind when you were talking about the expanded roster. But yeah, Ryan Ritter could be that third, that extra bench guy. Braxton Fulford, I still think, has the backup catcher spot locked in for now, although I could be wrong on that. And then Fishy in the chat says, how long of a leash does Karros get if he makes the opening day roster? I think all of the young guys are going to have about a month of serious consistency on, like, are you either being good, playing good, or are you playing poorly, not up to the standards, right? If you can get through a month and say, yeah, this player's done enough to keep his spot, then he'll get another month and so on. I think they're on a month-to-month basis. I think you got to give them enough time to actually get some experience. Again, you still have new coaches too, so you want to give them a chance to actually be up at the big leagues for a little bit. But I do think there will be a short leash, absolutely. And the front office has already shown that they're willing to make moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and you just have so much positional versatility with guys like Castro, Johnston, Ritter, that whoever starts opening day, Julian has a ton of positional flexibility as well. So I think a month is exactly what I would have said. I hate that we're always exactly in step, because I want to have some arguments sometimes with you instead of just agreeing with you. But I think a month is a good time because to me, granted, you're not going to, from what we've seen in spring training from guy and the WBC, from a guy like Edward Julian or a guy like Troy Johnston. Edward Julian's been kind of bad. Troy Johnston's been fine, right? But to me, it would take a Herculean effort up from them starting a random game. Like if, let's say, Karros is your third baseman, and then you give one start to Julian, or let's say Castro's your second baseman, then you move him to third to give Karros a day off, and you start Julian at second base. They'd have to go 4 for 4 with a couple of home runs and make some insane plays to be push that limit less than a month, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you're all right, these guys are going to get their scheduled days off. It'll be very interesting to see how Warren Schaefer manages that this year, because I think last year, as much as we do love Warren Schaefer, and it was mostly in the Hunter Goodman camp, but we felt like there was a lot of days where you're like, why is he not starting again? Why is X player not starting again? And I think going into the season, all the veterans that you've added, and I've said this name a million times, but the Julian, the Johnstons, those guys that you have on the roster that you've added that are not opening day starters or guaranteed opening day starters, you don't care how much those guys play, right? None of us do. None of us care how much Edward Julian gets to play unless he starts playing. He plays 1 or 2 games and he's leading the team in hitting and making things happen on the base paths and this and that. Like, those guys are perfect guys to have on your bench as veterans that have been in the MLB. They've been all-stars in the past. They've been, good players in the past, but it's time to let the younger guys at least see what they have for a month and know you have at least something steady behind them to be able to play their position versus last year. It's like, oh, if these guys aren't good, we have to go to our AAA roster, which is also not very good. And then pluck guys from there that aren't ready to play. So I feel comfortable with a lot of the vets they have being just bench guys.
It's good to have some depth too. It's good to have some options. I know depth at a certain point becomes kind of a hindrance. Like, you want to have real true big leaguers, but it's good to have some options. That's why I don't think they'll trade anyone at the moment. And Elon says in the chat, I'm assuming sarcastically, welcome to the big leagues, kid. You're on monthly probation. I think at this point, this is a year for learning what these guys have. And yes, you could make the argument that you want to give them enough time to do that. But at the same time, this front office, this organization has said time and time again, we want to win games, right? If a player's not playing well, we've got other choices. We've got other people that can come in. So yes, there is something to be said about giving them enough time to work through some of the issues. That's why I think a month is a place to start. But if they're not playing well, they're going to end up getting replaced by someone who's playing well in the minor leagues. And I think that's kind of where they're at right now. But we got about 3 minutes left here on the show. I wanted to change gears real fast because we're going to be doing a let me see if I can pull this up. We're going to be doing this new March Madness bracket that we're going to be posting on social media today. Here's what it looks like, where we're doing a ranking of our favorite Rocky. This was Spencer's idea, and this is going to be rolling out on social media today. So if you follow us on Twitter, you can vote. But in honor of March Madness, again, wearing my Gonzaga jersey today to celebrate March Madness beginning today, we're going to be doing a little bracket of our own, and this is rating our fan favorite Rocky. So again, this is not the best Rocky. We're not talking about wins above replacement here. We're not talking about rookie of the years, nothing like that. Simply your favorite Rocky. We've got everything split up and you can vote on it. Again, we will be starting our voting today on Twitter. We're going to kind of be going down the list and voting as we go. But I think this could be fun. I've already got plenty of my votes already lined out in my head.
Okay, I was putting this together yesterday and I was like racking my brain trying to find, there's definitely, which is always good. There's going to be people that freak out in the comments, which is good. Engagement's good, right?
Of course.
About some of the seeding. But Todd Helton and Larry Walker were the two obvious number 1 seeds, right? And then I think Freeland's a little low at 8. Ryan McMahon's a little high at 4. But look at this bracket and give me a 4 or higher seed that you think, and Troy Tulowitzki at the bottom there, I tried to fix that. He's actually 2 seed. This fucking thing was not working with me, so I just gave up on it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we don't have 2 4 seeds, but give me a 4 to 8 seed that you think has a chance of being a sleeper in this.
A 4 to 8 seed. Vinny Castilla. I think Vinny Castilla is a fan favorite. You see him down at the bottom right with Nolan Arenado. He's a fan. Well, he's going up against Nolan. That's the only problem. But there's some hate. There's some hate for Nolan.
I was going to say that's a good point because Nolan, you never know how you're going to feel about Nolan. Now, my sleeper is going to be Matt Holliday at 4 because we got the whole Ethan Holliday scenario now.
Yeah. Matt's
been back to Coors Field. His son hopefully will be playing for the Rockies in a couple years, and he has probably the second we could have done Rocky's iconic moments, the Matt Holliday home plate slide, the Nolan Arenado grand slam on Father's Day, and then the Todd Helton raising his hands up when they won the National League Championship Series. Those 3 moments are kind of like top 3 picturesque Rockies moments of all time. So Matt Holliday, I think, has a chance to make it through. And I think, it depends upon the people that are on Twitter, which I generally wouldn't believe are the older Rockies fans. Like Pedro Estacio is kind of a deep cut. I mean, he has the most complete games in Rockies history, but
and current consultant to the team, apparently.
Right, but not a guy that a lot of people will see that name and be like, oh yeah, I remember him. You know, half the people weren't even born.
I know. It's good.
Now.
This is fun. Eline says Kyle Freeland is a sleeper. Man is taking bullets for the Rockies. Yeah, well, he's going up against Larry Walker, so that's kind of a tough one.
Yeah,
but
he got screwed with the 8 seed. The committee didn't do him well.
No, voting committee. They're always troublesome. But all right, we got to wrap things up. We got another show coming up on Thursday. So again, Scott, set your alarm, set your reminder. Thursday lunch break. We'll be right here at noon. And then we also are going to be probably changing things up a little bit next week. We've got some scheduling things moving around, but still 2 shows a week from here on out. We of course have our watch along next week as well. We'll be recapping the WBC Championship and hopefully getting you ready for opening day here on Thursday. So thank you guys for watching. This has been fun. We will see you guys next time right here on the DNVR Rockies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.